Live to the Premier David Crisafulli. He's got an update on ex-tropical Cyclone Alfred and the fallout.
We had 1,146 millimetres of rain. There was 835 at Talabudra. There was 592 at North Stratty, 522 at Redlands, 513 at Brisbane City, 475 at Coolangatta, 352 at Nambour, 313 at Ipswich. Significant rainfall. Emergency alerts have been cancelled, and with that comes a sense of relief for a large number of people. I want to give a sense of the scale of the operations in the last 24 hours. So the SES have received another 1,300 odd tasks in the last 24 hours. Remember, there was over 3,500 a couple of days ago in that one-day window. I had the chance this morning to go and thank some of the volunteers at the SES headquarters here on the Gold Coast. There's still a little over 3,000 jobs outstanding, but there's over 1,000 SES personnel in the field. I got the chance to meet some from South Australia who have arrived. We had 100 interstate volunteers arrive yesterday, another 100 today. And think about the combined effort with all of those emergency services personnel on the ground and the difference that they are making. I can report that overnight there were no calls for flood-related service for the Queensland Fire Department, but I do want to take the time to thank them for what they've done. The swiftwater rescues were the difference between life and death during this, and they had been pre-deployed to some of those key areas, and they kept people, gave them hope in a really, really difficult time. And I want to thank all of the emergency services personnel, from the police who went wading through water through those fire and rescue, the SES, the rural fireys who are clearing the way through a path. And I'll get on to our Energex workers in a moment. Power outages. 3/4 of power connections have been re-established, and I'll give that in numbers. So of the around about 450,000 outages, there remains, as of a few moments ago, just a tad under 118,000 without power. That's a significant amount, and that's 118,000 homes, businesses, that's people who aren't able to get back on their feet, and it's a lot of people without the ability to be able to go about normal life. I am pleased to say that the efforts of Energex, they are working around the clock. And I think most people have acknowledged how difficult the situation has been, and we have seen that in the last 24 hours they've answered our call about trying to give more visibility on when power will be restored, and there's a bit more work that needs to be done on that, but it is important that Queenslanders have that hope as to when life can return to normal. And I really want to thank people for the way that they have continued to try and go about daily life without electricity. Yes, there's been a lot of power restored, but there's still a lot to go, and I'm very grateful for that. Turning to schools, 360 state schools have reopened today. More than half of Queensland kids are back at school today, and with that comes the ability for their parents to be able to try to get back to life as normal. With that is the ability for a nurse to go to the hospital, which then means that someone can have an elective surgery that they've been waiting for to get life back to normal. Someone can go to the supermarket and stack shelves and be paid and provide for their family, and another person can go and get the goods and services that they desperately need. Schools are at the heart of everything. I really want to thank the teachers, I want to thank the parents, the kids, and above all, the principals. And that local decision-making makes a difference in disasters. And I want to thank the way that the principals have done that and the way that they've worked with the teachers and have embraced that. Turning to transport, I'm urging people to go to the Queensland Traffic website and stay up to date with those closures. It obviously is a moving feast, but I'll start with major roads. Warrego Highway was cut at Forest Hill. We're hoping that clears very, very soon. It is imminent. The Cunningham Highway is reopened. There is still some damage. Please take care, but that road is reopened. Traffic signals, we're down to about 11% of traffic signals that are out. More of those will come on during the day, but another step on the road to normality. 13 landfills, the Gold Coast and the Sunshine Coast hinterlands, working to clear those up. And I want to touch on buses for a moment. Buses are scheduled across the broader area. Obviously be prepared, they're not working at full capacity. We expect to see more services come online, but I want to thank everyone for the way that they have tried to get those bus services back online, to get people to be able to go back to work and do the things that they need to do. Again, please check the Translink website. Trains are running on a Sunday timetable, and replacement buses are running where there are gaps in those services as well. Again, check the Translink website. Gold Coast Light Rail is back up and running. Limited service. I mentioned the other day that it takes some time from when power is restored to when it's re-established, but it is running. But just check those services. And we've been speaking with council around the Brisbane ferries, which we are told is getting closer to being back up and running. And the Moreton ferries are operating, but on a limited timetable. Water. There has been some disruption to water supplies in some areas. And I'm keen to make sure that those communications with those people continue. But at this stage, there's only 2 water treatment plants that have been offline. That was Dayborough and Kenilworth. Water is being trucked in there as we speak. The Gold Coast desalination plant is pumping water into the treatment plant, which will also help in that regard. Telecommunication. There remains some absence of service in some key areas, and those amount of towers are coming offline as power is restored. There's also been temporary power brought to some places, including Russell Island, Stradbroke Island and Macleay Island, and it's important that that occurs because those communities did bear the brunt of the cyclone as it crossed. Turning to waste, tip sites have opened across council. I know the Fraser Coast Recovery Hub is opening today. There's a lot of work on green waste. And I note that my good mate, the Lord Mayor, on Saturday has invoked the mud army, but in the form of people with utes. And I reckon that's pretty special. And it'll show a great bit of community spirit, and it will help people be able to clear those trees and branches from their yard, and it will enable life to just take one more step towards returning to normal. And I want to thank Adrian for that. A great initiative. Turning to evacuation centres. There are a few people left in some of those evacuation centres, and councils will be closing those, and we will be helping making sure that those people are able to either be returned to home or where they have issues with their housing, that we assist them in that regard. Which leads me to today, and Minister Cam will be announcing the opening of some community recovery hubs, the first of many. And I want to make this point. Community recovery hubs exist to give people hope, a face that they can go in and talk to, a shoulder they can cry on, someone who can help them with financial support, mental health support, just someone to listen. And there's going to need to be a lot of listening because there is a lot of people who've been through a lot. And I'm mindful that these recovery hubs do a power of good work. And I do have to acknowledge the way that Minister Cam has worked with councils and community groups to make sure that we can mobilise these quickly. Our focus is squarely on recovery. Squarely on recovery. I spoke during this about making sure that there was no daylight between it, but we are going to get Queensland back on its feet. Right across the state, we have to make sure that people know that this state is open for business. We are a great state, a place where you can come and enjoy holidays, a place where you can do business, a place where you can move and call home. It's a great place to live, and people need to know that. This recovery will ensure it'll be an even better place to live. Which leads me to some of the disaster assistance payments. And again, I'm also joined by another minister, and that's Recovery Minister Anne Ley. Yesterday, I announced that the federal government had agreed to requests at a local level for Gold Coast, Redlands and Logan. And just moments ago, the federal government has agreed for affected areas of the Fraser Coast as well as the Moreton Bay Council area. The minister will update that. I stress, as I said yesterday, these will come in waves as the applications come in and as we get Commonwealth approval, and we are determined to make sure that people get the assistance they need to get life back for them and their family. And we are also determined to make sure that broader packages exist to help small and family business to get on their feet, councils to be able to deliver services, make sure that key infrastructure is in place. Before I hand over to my mate beside me, and I want to thank you, Tom, for joining us today, let me finish on this. Disasters always test people's resolve, it tests infrastructure, but above all, it tests the ability for people to go from tragedy to being able to get back on their feet. And from what I've seen during what is the first cyclone across the coast this far south in 50 years, I've seen people who have been willing to do their bit to help their neighbour, to do their bit to be able to communicate messages, to do their bit to make sure that they're part of a community. And I want every Queenslander to know we are determined to flick the switch from response to recovery. And this isn't going to be a one-day effort or a one-week effort. Recovery takes time. But if you're focused and if you have people at the heart of what you do, communities do bounce back from disasters. And I have every faith so too will a very largely populated area of a magnificent state.